Okay, now we want to talk about accents. We've talked a little bit about arrogance and culture. So nobody ever has a problem understanding somebody with a strong accent, do they, Martin?
It's quite common with companies that I work with that the biggest problem actually is the accent of the foreign manager. Because what the workers do is they don't understand their boss, but they keep nodding and saying yes, 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 yes. But they don't understand, like you said before, with some of the people you work with in outsourcing. So when you add that to other issues like arrogance, like the power gap, then you have a recipe for disaster.
Right. And I can be quite honest and tell you that there are areas of Canada where people come from them and they talk, and I have a hard time understanding what it is they're saying. And that's just within my own country.
Yes, and it's the same for me with British accents. And when students learn English, they aren't generally exposed to, let's say, difficult accents. It's generally neutral American accent, neutral Australian, neutral Canadian, neutral British English. And when they encounter an accent that is not like the BBC or the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, they have big problems.
So what you're saying is having a strong accent can be hard to understand.
Oh, yes, yes. And as I mentioned, I had a company that I work with. There was a group of students. They were all from the same company. And they came to me and said, we have a big problem because our general manager is very angry with us. And the reason for this was that this general manager had a very strong Scottish accent. And none of the workers understood anything that he said. But they didn't tell him that, of course. They just nodded, oh, yes, 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 yes. And then he would tell them to do something. When he left the room, they'd have a quick meeting. What did he say? Don't know. I think he means this, or I think he means that. So they would come to an agreement about what they thought the boss meant, and then they would do it. And the next day, the boss would say, so why didn't you do what I told you? And they were like, oh, no, we got it wrong again. And, it was a massive problem for that company.
So what did you do to resolve the issue?
Well, first of all, I tried from the student perspective. I tried to improve their listening skills in terms of Scottish English. So I was on the BBC Scotland website, and I was finding videos with people speaking in a Glaswegian accent. That's the boss was from Glasgow. And I tried to use them to improve the students' listening skills. But have you ever heard a Glasgow accent or a strong Glasgow accent?
No, I can't actually say that I am aware of one, but I imagine it's pretty hard to understand. A lot of just regular Scottish accents are hard for me to understand.
Actually, they say that in Edinburgh, they have the best English in the UK. Well, they used to have the best English in the UK. But yes, a Glasgow accent, a strong Glasgow accent. In fact, some of the videos I was looking at on the BBC, I couldn't understand either.
Well, that makes sense. So what happened?
Not good. The next day, the HR department phoned and said, we are cancelling your contract effective right now.
Wow. So that's the big elephant in the room that people don't want to look at, eh?
Yeah. Accents can be a big thing because also it's a part of your identity, isn't it? It's when you have an accent, you come from a particular place. So if somebody says to you, I don't understand your accent, it's like you're criticizing that person's heritage. You're criticizing, where they're born. You're criticizing their culture. So it actually is a very difficult thing to talk to people about, but it's necessary.
Yeah, That's an interesting problem because I know a number of instructors, online video course instructors who are from India, and they often are very, very concerned about their accents and how they sound, right? And I'm kind of like, well, just don't worry about it. Just talk the way you talk, and it's who you are, and just accept it. I mean, if you don't accept yourself, it's gonna be hard for the other people to accept too. And I'm a big proponent of practice, right? If you talk more and you get feedback and you listen to yourself and you watch some different types of TV with different types of English accents, then you start to pick it up.
Yeah.
But but having said that, it's hard enough when you grew up learning a certain language that was not English, and then you learn English with the accent that comes from your background, and you know how to say certain words. Like, we have a strong Chinese community in Vancouver, and there are certain sounds that the Chinese language has that you learn as a baby. And if you don't learn it as a baby, you can't learn it. You don't hear it. You don't get it at all. And so if I want to learn Mandarin or Cantonese and speak it, I'm going to be speaking it and missing some, because my tongue has not been trained to make that sound.
This is very difficult. When I was living in Spain, it took me 2 years to get the R. It seems easy, like R, but I couldn't do it for 2 years. I was going R. I just couldn't say it. But finally, I did. But it's not easy. There are certain things that you because it's like muscle memory training. I don't know if you've seen these sports people, and they are training their muscles. So they're doing these imaginary exercises where they don't have a ball, but they're moving their legs or their arms into such a position where if the ball comes to them at a difficult angle, their muscles have the memory of that angle, so they can move their feet or their legs into that position more easily.
Right.
There was a very famous striker in the UK called Andy Cole, Manchester United, of course, and he would spend hours every day standing on the goal line, moving his body into all these weird contorted positions, because he was saying that when you're that close to the goal and the ball comes very quickly, you don't have time to think. You just have to try and get your body, any part of your body, to hit the ball and get it in the net. And that was one of the reasons why he was one of the most successful strikers in English football, because his body had that kind of flexibility that he trained it for. And it's the same with your tongue. If it hasn't got that training to say those words, then you can't do it.
That's right. And the last couple of years, I've been spending a fair bit of time in Colombia and some South American countries, and I have an iPad with a translator app, and I got in the habit of saying to the Spanish-speaking people that I was there, like, I want to write it in English what I want to say, then I want to say it in Spanish, and then I want you to correct me, because otherwise, how am I going to learn, right? And so we would have these slow conversations, because I first of all had to type it out, and then I had to read it, and then I had to listen to the critique, come back. And after about 6 weeks, it was amazing to me how much more comfortable I was speaking Spanish. And so I asked somebody, I said, well, okay, I've been speaking Spanish with you for like 2 weeks now. Like, what do you think? And they said, well, you speak Spanish with a slight Italian accent. I went, whoa, that's really cool. I don't speak Italian, but I have an Italian accent in Spanish.
Okay. Good.
So accents are a big deal, both ways.
Yes, but not as big probably as the purely linguistic things that we're going to talk about in the next lecture.